Welcome to the Scaling Therapy Practice. This is James Marland. I really think you're going to enjoy this week's show. I have Daniel Fava from Private Practice Elevation on the show. Daniel, I met a couple years ago in the Scale Up Summit, and then later on, we went to a conference together, and I've just continued to talk with him and engage with him and use some of his advice and tips. So we decided to bring him on the show. He talks about where he started running a blog and doing some freelancing to actually developing a business and then scaling to an agency. We talk about those types of things. We also talk about content writing for therapists and that you can influence your SEO, and he has some resources for that. We get into a pretty interesting discussion about culture and working virtually and how do you create that culture within your organization, even when you can't see each other. Don't miss that. And we wrap up with him talking about his new course that he's launching at the end of January. You're going to want to get on the wait list for that because you get some bonuses if you're on the wait list and join that course. It's all about using the tools that he uses in his business to build out the SEO and to help people find your office sooner, better, quicker with search engine optimization. It's called SEO Basecamp Live. And if you go to Private Practice Elevation /CCS for Course Creation Studio, my main webpage, you'll be able to find where to either join the course when it launches at the end of January or get on that wait list. I really do appreciate Daniel for coming on the show. He had to go in an hour. I probably could have talked to him for 2 hours. So wonderful, wonderful resource. Thanks, Daniel, so much for being on the show. I hope you, the listener, enjoy hearing Daniel's wisdom as much as I did.
Psych Maven is proud to support the Scaling Therapy Practice podcast. And if you are someone looking for ideas that are tailored to your own personal style on how to scale and grow your own impact and income as a mental health provider, we hope you might check out our free online assessment. If you go to stp.psychmaven.com, you can take our free personal inventory and find out what your builder type is as a helping professional. This assessment is quick and fun, and it comes with tons of customized resources with your results, so you can discover the best ways to scale that match your own personality. Find the assessment at stp.psychmaven.com. That is stp.psychmaven.com. Have fun with it.
Hello, this is James with the Scaling Therapy Practice. Today we have a special guest, Daniel Fava from Private Practice Elevation. Hello, Daniel.
Hey, James. How's it going?
Going great. Today we're going to start out with our tools, tech and tip of the week. I'll go first. I listen to a lot of therapy podcasts, and one of my favorite ones is Julie Harris has one on therapy for your money, and my previous company used her services for accounting, and it was wonderful. I'm a huge fan of Green Oak Accounting, and the last episode I listened to said she's releasing a book on Profit First for therapists, and I'm like, oh my word, this is amazing, because I love the book Profit First, but Julie just has a way of explaining things, and so she has a pre-order coming up. I think the book's releasing sometime in the spring, but if you do the pre-order, you can do you get tech tools and probably some spreadsheets or something. So that is my tip of the week for pre-ordering the Profit First for therapists.
Nice.
So Daniel, what's your tool or tip of the week?
Yeah, so the tool that's been kind of blowing my mind, and I know it's something that you emailed me about, and actually I didn't get a chance to check it out, and then somebody in my we have an SEO accountability group where we just help folks with their SEO, and we meet bi-weekly to keep people moving forward. And one of my members in there was saying how they were having so much trouble writing content for their website, because SEO really comes down to a lot of content. So they were like, "Oh, I'm using this Chat GPT tool," and I was like, "Oh, there's that thing again." And so I
Yep.
finally logged into this thing, which I think is from OpenAI.com. You can go
Yes.
and sign up for that, and what it is it's like an AI bot, like artificial intelligence, where you can ask it questions and it will spit out information. So the way that I'm kind of planning to use this is that when you're working on a website, you're struggling for content, or you maybe need some information that you want to include in like a blog post or a social post, you can ask it a question and it'll give you just this amazing starting point that then you can take that content and tweak. So I'm going to
Yeah.
actually use it. I'm planning to spend some time on my wife's private practice website tonight, focused on city pages to help her reach more people locally. And so for those
Oh,
pages, it's
wow.
good. It's good to
Yeah.
have like an introduction about the city you're talking about. So I went into this program and I just wrote, "Tell me about Atlanta, Georgia." And it spit out like
Wow. That's
four.
great.
It's like almost like a little Wikipedia introduction. I was like, "Oh, this is great." Like, cause I've got some facts about the population and the history that I can put into a city page. And then kind of from there go into, "Hey, here are our services in Atlanta, anxiety therapy, Atlanta, on and on." So that sort of thing. So I'm kind of geeking out over it and I'm excited to use it a little bit more for her website and for our SEO clients as well.
Yeah, I love it. I think I I don't I use it primarily for like the white page effect. You sit
Yeah.
down and you look at a blank page and you don't know where to start,
Yeah.
and it gives me lots of ideas. One of the things I was using it for was titles. So I like
Mm,
titles. Titles sell your course. Titles and chapter titles really sell what you're doing, because you got to describe the benefit and describe what they can get out of it, or the transformational process. And if you look at
yeah.
two titles and one says uh, SEO 101, or you see like something with the transformation, like attract more clients with SEO,
Hmm.
you're going to do that. And so Chat GPT, I would say, give me 10 titles on SEO that people would want to click, or
Oh,
something
that's
like that.
great. That's great.
And it prompts it, and it gives you stuff, and it's not always good. Okay, I'm just,
Yeah.
it's not always good, but you have 10 things to look at, and you're like, "Oh, I like this word," and then you combine
Yeah.
things, and it really takes away the fear of copy, because you have all these ideas. And if you're
Yeah.
already an expert in your field, you know what people want, you know what you want to say. You just
Yeah.
might not have the right vocabulary, and it really crunches it down for you, and takes
Yeah.
away that white page fear.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I think it also gives you, especially for those like blog posts that maybe have a little more resources, or you got to do some research, stuff like that. You can ask
Mhm.
questions and then include that content and tweak it to your voice and all that good stuff. It's pretty cool. I'm excited to dig into it a little more.
We maybe in a month we should do come back and talk about Chat GPT and how we've been using it, because
Yeah.
I could go on and on, because I also like using it for like, here's my topic, what would be 3 points for some slides or something.
Yeah.
It is
Hmm.
crazy.
Oh, that's
It's
great.
where we really are living in like a magical time with artificial intelligence, and this is just the beginning. So
Yeah.
there's so many tools coming out like Chat GPT.
Yeah.
This is probably a little too deep for our audience, but they released a Chat GPT API, which I'm not sure what that means, but I think you can use it and integrate it into your programs. You can
Oh.
actually, I am going too deep, but you can put it into like spreadsheets and stuff. Like, you can
Wow.
have a call to have it fill out spreadsheet data. I've seen videos on it. I haven't done it, but that could be useful for some people.
Wow.
Anyway,
Amazing.
okay. So maybe I should have done the introduction first. But this is Daniel from Private Practice Elevation, and I've some introduction with him. We did a mini conference together when I did summit. What was that called? It was like 3 years ago, and I only did it once. And it was um,
Oh, I
I did it
forget the
for
name too.
yeah. Okay.
You know?
Well, this is where I might edit this out. I'll just leave it in. But we did I put on a little summit and Daniel was there. And then I met him at Whitney's summit, faith, faith,
Faith in practice.
faith in practice in Georgia,
Yeah.
which I'm planning on going back to her other conference. It's not named that anymore, but that's coming up.
Yeah. Well,
And
I'll be there too. I'm sponsoring it. Uh,
awesome. Oh
meet
yeah, it was
again.
wonderful. It was a
Yeah.
great conference. And one of the things about conferences is you get to meet people. And Daniel and I ended up at a table together, and his wife, and we talked. And anyways, I'm doing a lot of introduction. Daniel, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us how you came to this point?
Yeah, sure. So, my name's Daniel Fava, and I run a website design and SEO agency called Private Practice Elevation. And basically, what we do is we work with therapists and private practice owners to elevate their business through online marketing, through their website design, getting found online, with SEO services. And basically, our whole mission is really to elevate you from whatever place you're at right now in your business to the next place. So we work with people who are just starting out. They really need to just get their name online and get established.
Mhm.
So, we can help people get their first website done. We also work with large private practices, group practices where they've got a website and lots of traffic and lots of content, but the website doesn't reflect the, professional, high level service that they provide. So they want to level up, their website and just look better online. So, we do that. But yeah, we work with people at any stage they're at to help them get found online and also look great and convert more leads into clients using their online marketing.
Great. I think that's before I started with business, I didn't know anything about SEO or that you could even influence it.
Mhm.
So how did you get so we're talking about scaling. How did you get started? And then what were some of the obstacles you faced when you started to grow?
Yeah. So when I first started out, I really thought that I was going to be focused on course creation, something that you know a lot about, James. And I got really excited because I was working for 5 years for a nonprofit here in Atlanta, and just a very creative guy. I like to create things, whether that is art or websites or now business and processes and stuff like that. It's fun, but I found myself after 5 years just being exhausted and drained. I was managing a couple people and helping with the fundraising and website stuff, but I found myself just like in meetings after meetings and meetings about meetings and just getting exhausted. And so, like most people, I read The 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss and started getting into online marketing and some of that stuff. And what's his name?
Pat Flynn,
Smartpassiveincome.com.
I think
Yeah,
maybe.
Pat Flynn. Yeah, and just Amy Porterfield. And so started getting really excited about the idea of an online business. I was like, that sounds really cool to me. So it took me a little time, but just kind of like soul searching and figuring out what I love to do. And at the time, it's just like I love to create websites, and I created a website for my wife's private practice back in 2011 when she first
Hmm.
started her business, and it really helped establish her online. It helped her get some of those first clients, and so many people were like, "Hey, I chose to work with you because your website stood out to me. It spoke to me. It was kind of at the time it was pretty creative, and the way she spoke was very kind of laid back, like friendly, that sort of thing." And so, we learned a lot from that website. And so when I decided to start a new business, I decided to start a blog, and it's called createmytherapistwebsite.com. Just like this is what it is. So I started teaching a therapist how to create a website, how to use WordPress, some SEO, like tips and tools and stuff like that. It was very focused on blog and tutorials and things like that. And I did launch a course at the time, while also working one on one with some folks to create their websites. So at that time, I considered myself more of just a freelancer. I was just really looking to get projects and figure out where to go. And now, kind of fast forward, it's been like 7 years now, and now we are an agency, and I've got three developers. We've got a project manager, I've got an assistant, an SEO specialist. So I've kind of come to something that I didn't really plan out to create. But I found myself, working really hard with those course launches and just finding, you know, getting stuck on certain things. Technology is a big one. It's a big hurdle for people. And so I was actually starting to enjoy more working one-on-one with private practice
Hmm.
owners and working on their websites. And so just decided, hey, what if I built this into an agency? And so I mean, it's been 7 years, so it took a lot of time to figure out processes, and I'm still trying to figure out those things. And now taking on contractors to help us and be on our team.
Mm.
Learning to lead in different ways and how to delegate and just kind of offload some stuff that I was doing. So now that I can focus on stuff like this, talking with you. I've got my own podcast as well, which James was on, just a plug for that.
Yep.
He was
Well,
episode 123. So privatepracticeelevation.com/123. Check that out. And yeah, so it's been, it's been a journey, to figure out. And it's kind of like, I didn't set out to create an agency, but now I'm really enjoying it because I've got a team that is, just fantastic. And they're focused on projects and I can oversee those projects. And I've got 2 boys, so I can,
mm,
you know, uh, something happens like this week. We have we take our youngest. He's about to be 2. We take him to like a parents' morning out once a week at a church, and then I go home and work. This week somebody got COVID, so they canceled on us. So I was
mm,
like, okay, I guess I have to watch him, or the kids have off on Martin Luther King like this week.
yep.
So I was like, we don't have childcare at the moment. So, okay, I can watch them and it's not like everything in my business is stopping because I know my team is working on projects. Like, yeah, there's always things that we got to do or we want to do in our business, but it's really, it's really comforting to know that I've got a team that I can work with and those things keep moving forward. And so I can just trust like they're doing that stuff and it's great.
Cool. So it sounds like it started with a passion, something that you knew you could do and people wanted, a blog and some tutorials, and
Yeah.
now it's an agency that didn't happen overnight. What were some of the challenges or decision points that you had to make that maybe you spent some time thinking about, or you talked it over with your wife or a coach?
Yeah.
What were some of those things that you had to think through to scale?
I think probably hiring
Yeah.
is a big thing. And that's a big, it's a challenging point. It's not only the logistics, where do I find people, but also like, how do I lead well? How do I not micromanage and trust somebody with this baby that I've created, this business? And one of our what's the word? Our values, our business values for private practice elevation is, do everything with excellence. And so customer support is really big for me. I
Mhm.
want people to feel like they're not waiting on us for anything and we are, keeping in touch. So it's like, okay, how do I hire people to do that, to take that on and run with that value and our mission and that sort of thing. So, like I said, I was, a freelancer for some time. And so one thing that I did, and I heard a lot about from just coaches and podcasts and people who have built businesses, is focusing on your processes. So I tried my best when it was just me to start documenting a lot of the things that I was doing to capture how I wanted them to be done, or how I felt like they should be
So
done.
even before you had employees, you started documenting what you were doing?
Yeah, yeah. And even for
What
myself was super
Yeah,
helpful because, with like a website project, that project could take 2 months. And so when I do one thing at the beginning of the project, it might not be for another month that I do the same thing again for another project. So even for
yeah.
myself, I would go back to my processes, even if I was the one who was executing them, like, oh yeah, okay, I go here, I go here, I go here, and so that saved me
So
a lot of time.
I'm assuming this wasn't just on Post-it notes or something? You, stored it
No.
somewhere that you could retrieve it?
Yeah, I started just using, Google Docs was
Google
really
Docs?
the main place, and, right now it's still a little bit messy. I think that's one of my goals for this year is really cleaning up our processes, but some stuff was in Google Docs just starting out. I found here's another tool, it's called Scribe How. I believe it's just scribehow.com, and what it does is it records your clicks, and then
Oh,
you can record the steps you take, and then go back and kind of edit it, and it'll take screenshots of, it'll say, click here, then go to this link. And so it makes it really nice because, somebody like an assistant can then pull that up and, go through that. But Google Docs works totally fine. And we've kind of created a library we use Asana for all of our
Hmm.
project management. And so we've created a library kind of based on people's roles of those different processes. So, it's definitely grown. But yeah, when I first started doing it, I had a coach who just encouraged me, like, just start documenting everything. And so I tried to do that. Anytime I did something that I knew was going to be repeated, I, just opened a Google Doc, took screenshots, wrote out the steps, which is a lot of work up front. And you feel like, oh, I don't have the time to do that. Let me just knock it
Yeah,
out,
for sure.
and I still feel that, I still do that. But I've gotten a lot better just knowing, like, okay, I don't need to be doing this for forever. Somebody else can totally do this. So let me document this.
Mm, great. The other thing you said was managing people
Yeah.
and like learning not to micromanage or like hover, I guess, over people. I think that's tough when you said you're giving over your baby, and as a lot of people
Yeah.
are listening to this show, they you grow to a certain point, and the thing that holds you back is yourself. So
Hmm.
you think about hiring, but then you're like, nobody's going to do it like me, or
Yeah.
I don't trust them. So it sounds like you had to overcome that a little bit. How,
Yeah.
like, what was the process for you for that? Or do you have any tips for people who are kind of like struggling with giving things over?
Yeah. I think, starting with processes is great, and taking that time to train somebody, to take them through, the first couple times that they're doing something. Um, and then from then on, I think it's a lot of communication, just making
Mm,
sure that you are constantly checking in. And I forget who said this, but I think it was somebody, one of the coaches that I was a part of a mastermind group. When it comes to your like our agency for like website design, you're going through a project, and something, you have a touch point where maybe it's an email, whatever it is, that kind of has brought you together. And then time goes on, and then you like, the
yeah.
lines kind of split apart, and then you got to do the touch point again, to bring back together. And
Mm,
in that in between time of those touch points, that's when your mind can just like start making up stories, like, oh, they didn't do this because of this,
mhm,
or how come they
mhm.
can't get this right, and so I think for myself, I can find myself going into that place of like, oh, they didn't send this email when they were supposed to. And like, how come they didn't do that? And now we're behind schedule and blah, blah, blah. And then I talk to my project manager, and she's like, my whole family got the flu last week. I'm sorry. I've been really trying. I wasn't like blaming her. I was just trying to find
Yeah,
out, hey, did you do that thing? And like, I'm sorry.
yeah.
It's been hard to be productive this week because my family with four
Everybody's home.
children
Also,
has
yeah,
sick. And like,
yeah.
oh, okay. That makes total sense. Like, so it's like, okay, and then you just remind yourself, okay, I gotta trust and just keep the communication lines open. And then, yeah, if it becomes an issue that you've spoken multiple times to somebody about something and they're still not getting it, then you might have, some harder conversations to have or some decisions to make. But, for the most part, I'm thankful for my team. We got a great team, and we come together every Monday to talk about what we're working on, what is keeping us stuck. And then kind of throughout the week, I have one-on-one time with
Yeah.
each of my teammates.
So that is something I was going to ask about, the one-on-one time, because I listened to this podcast a while ago, called Manager Tools,
Mm.
and it's a long running show. I think it's 10 years now, and they have
Wow.
podcasts on everything. And they called it the Trinity, but one of the elements of the Trinity was one-on-ones. And, I never got one-on-ones when I was an individual contributor.
Mhm.
Uh, but they really meant, and they have this process on running one-on-ones. And so I started doing that when I was in managing, a division at the hospital, or not a division, just a department at a hospital. And then
Mhm.
when I was working for the virtual assistant company, I met with all the virtual assistants. And then when I had managers, I met with the managers and still the
Yeah.
one-on-ones with them. But a lot of people say it's a waste of time. They're just like, why do you spend all that time meeting with people and doing things, especially when things are going well? Why do you meet with people when things are going well? I have
Yeah.
my answer, but do you what does meeting with people do for you to help you and your management?
Yeah, I think for me, it goes back to that value of excellence and who we're serving. It goes back to our clients. Really, it's kind of it's more about them. And at the end of the day, I want to make sure that we are providing a great service, we're getting results for them, and that they feel really well taken care of. So, in order to do that, as the business owner, and at this stage right now where I'm at, this might not be my role in the future, but I want to make sure that if there's any question that one of my team members needs, answered, I want to be there for that. Or if there's things that I see that, I want to check, mostly we check in on projects. So, how is this client doing? We look at Asana together at where we're at in the process for a project, kind of look at like what's coming up, what are some roadblocks that you foresee, or there might be just something that maybe somebody missed. And so I'll kind of review some of their work. For example, like with our SEO clients, I want to review the content strategy that my SEO specialist has put together. And I might see something and say, actually, there should be a page about, EMDR that isn't on their website. And they
Mhm.
mentioned that as a service. We want to build out a page for that. That's going to help their SEO. So it's just kind of getting on the same page together and getting two minds together. And we're really working together towards, the same goal. So, I mean, that's mainly it, is just really creating a space so that we can stay connected, and that they feel, I
Yeah,
want my team to feel taken care of too, and that I care what's going on, and just, you can only do that with time and being face to face or screen to screen.
screen to screen,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I feel the same way. Like checking up on things, making sure they have time to say what's going on, a
Yeah.
little bit in their life and a little bit in work. It's like a work meeting, but you talk
Yeah.
about what is going on, and if what's important to them is their family and their sick family, I would listen
Yeah.
to them about their family and their sick family, because
Hmm.
to them, we say we care about people, but we don't listen to them about what is most important to them,
Yeah.
it's not genuine. We just, we're meeting to get through the family stuff so we can dump work on them. But
Yeah.
I think the culture you want to create is something where they feel like they are nurtured and cared for. Yes, you do that for work, but you also do that
Yeah.
with some of the information, and bosses don't always understand the power you have, because you can call somebody up and they'll take your call, and you'll chat about vacations or kids or whatever. You'll ask how you doing and they'll tell you, but it's
Yeah.
really it's your power. Like they're
Hmm.
answering because your role power. They can't do the same thing for you. They can't stop in your office and say, "Hey, I need 30 minutes of your time." And
Yeah.
you would be like, "Check my calendar." But as the boss, you have that role power. So if you have this
Hmm.
weekly meeting, or mostly weekly, it's recommended for manager tools. It's it gives them time that they have. It's their time to use. And I just thought
Yeah.
people, uh, you can get the work done, but you can't build a culture without the frequent interactions. You
Right.
just
Exactly.
you just can't. Um,
Yeah. Yep. I agree. Yeah, we've kind of created. I feel like and one of my developers. So we have developers that they're overseas, but they feel like they're a part of our team. And one of our guys, he always says, I think private practice elevation is like my family. He's like,
aw,
we meet every week, and we've had those times where
yep,
you're like, hey, you haven't really heard too much from you this week, and then you get on the call and it's like, oh, my son has been sick, or I've moved, or I was able to buy
yes,
a new apartment, and so I'm moving, and then this happened and that happened, and you feel like you're a part of their life, and you're kind of
yeah,
rooting for them, and we help to support each other when things kind of fall through, or if someone has something with their family and they need to attend to. And so I love that. Like, even though people are around the world, we've got
that's awesome.
three people overseas, and two are in Texas, on my team. And I haven't met any of them face to face. And some of them I've worked with for 5 years now, which is
Mhm.
crazy.
And it's so easy. Like it was easy to go to your office and shut the door when everybody worked physically, but you still could have interactions with people. It's
Yeah.
even easier to be isolated virtually if nobody checks in on you. Like, what ties you to a company? Like,
Yeah.
like
Right.
if nobody's interested in you, investing in you, talking to you, um, being there for you, even just listening about something offhanded,
Right.
if nobody's doing that, and then there's somebody offering the same job with more money, what are they gonna do? Like, if there's no culture attachment,
Right.
you're gonna lose people just
Yeah.
because of money. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, culture. Okay, so we kind of talked about solutions, but as you were scaling, and it sounds like you've had iterations throughout your company. You started
Yeah.
here, there might have been a middle, and then another evolution as you're still going.
Yeah.
Um, were there any solutions that you came up with besides what we've talked about, or do you want to go to what you wish you knew now?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that came to mind, just kind of thinking about like those different iterations in my business was, I heard a coach once say, it was James Wedmore. I was a part of this mastermind group that he had. It was called Business by Design, and he had when he was talking
Cool.
about like the different like levels of your business, he had this analogy where you've got, I think he called it like Paradise Island, that's like your goal of where you want your life and your business to be, that sort of
Sure.
thing. And you've got different services that are going to help you reach that goal, so you might have group therapy, or maybe you've got a course that you're launching. You've also got just one-on-one individual therapy. You got all these services. And so what he would say was like, build your build your bridge, build one main bridge and put your focus into that main bridge to get to that paradise island, and then come back and work on the next bridge and work on the next bridge. And so last year, about 2 years ago, I did that when I kind of decided I needed to go pretty much full in on the agency side of things, because I do have some courses out there, the things that that I teach through the courses, and we're launching an SEO course. When people are listening to this, probably like next week, the week after. So we're still doing some of those courses, but I took a break for like 2 years to focus on building my team, finding a project manager, finding another developer, um, really working on our processes. And so I focused on that and got our services and processes nailed down. And now I feel like I can come back and do some of this, get back to teaching, because I've got the brain space now, because I've got a team who's helping me do that stuff. So I think that was a really good lesson to learn, because as a business owner, there's so many things that you could be working on. And it's like, what am I focused on? So I kind of just looked at it as like, what am I enjoying right now? And what has the most potential to set me up for the future to continue to scale and grow? So,
So how did you maintain that focus? Because as I find I'm trying to build the business, there's so many opportunities and so many things that draws your attention away. Like, what, do you have a superpower with focusing, or how did you maintain that?
I don't think I have a superpower. I think that I just kind of made sure that, yeah, I'm kind of working sprints of like 90 days. So each 90-day goal would be surrounding that sort of end goal of like building
Okay.
the agency.
Did you write
And
it down? Did you write that goal down?
yeah, I probably had, yeah, I've got like a planner that I use, like 90-day
Okay.
planner. And so I kind of, at the beginning of every quarter, sit down and kind of think about what we're going to focus on. What are like three main projects that I'm going to work on, and some of the, smaller projects that go into those projects. So,
Nice.
I mean, I kind of just got into probably the routine of doing that, and just realized, at the time, the course stuff was not really gaining a lot of traction. And so it was kind of like, okay, I could really spin my wheels and try to do that, or I could focus on what is already getting traction, which was our done for you, working one on
Mhm.
one with
Mhm.
folks. So it wasn't like I was taking like a huge monetary hit. Like, yeah, I probably could have done a few more course launches and maybe made a few more $1,000 or whatever, but it wasn't like it took out my business. So like that
Mhm.
stuff was kind of, I had a couple evergreen courses. They're just kind of going on. And it was just like, okay, if people sign up for those, they sign up for that. That's great. It's kind of just, bonus, but let's focus on building the agency. And so that came down to focusing on our processes and hiring.
In hiring. Okay. So it also sounds like you've had coaches along the way. Like, um, have you always had a coach? Did you have to like make a decision? Okay, I need to invest some money here in coaching. And many of the successful people I talk to have coaches. Like
Yeah.
it's a common theme. No
Yeah.
matter where you are, they always talk about their coach that helped them through
Yeah.
something. So, before we get to what you wish you knew, what was your process on coaching?
So actually I have a really crazy story around coaching. So let's see, I think it was probably in about 2018 or so, 2019. I was really a big fan of Amy Porterfield. You know Amy
Yeah.
Porterfield, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
So, she's got great resources around webinars and building your business and that sort of thing. And she ran a contest that was, I forgot what you had to do. You had to like record a video and send something in and you could and you would win. Like the grand prize was like, spend a morning with Amy Porterfield, like doing like mastermind stuff. And then she decided to have like six runners up that would win a group mastermind at her house. So I sent something in and it was kind of cheeky and it was kind of funny. And I guess it caught her eye. So I actually won a chance to go to Amy
Wow.
Porterfield's house and do like a mastermind. At the time, I was really focused on course creation and stuff like that. So went out to San Diego and spent the morning with a couple other people. And so that was super cool. So how that's connected to coaching, I mean, she was at first, I had people like her, just like coaches that don't know that they're my coach,
Coaches
like
from afar. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
podcasts and resources and stuff like that. So like, if you're like, don't despise those humble beginnings because that was super helpful for me in my business. But then through that meeting, I met one of her, like, it was like her executive assistant at the time. And just kind of connected with her and stayed in touch with her and just kind of, she would comment on some of my social media stuff and I would comment back. And then she kind of went out and launched her own virtual assistant business. And I stayed in touch. And I think I was kind of feeling that sort of tension. Like I need some coaching. I need somebody outside of my business looking into it.
Mhm.
And so I took a gamble and I just reached out to her and was like, hey, I could just really use some help. I can't afford to pay you. I actually like said this, like maybe not in those words, but it was like, could we maybe meet for like a couple times? I just threw it out there and it was very like, I understand your time is super valuable. Like I made that known to her. Of course, like I respect that. And she came back and was like, yeah, I think we could let's do we'll do 6 monthly calls. And she didn't charge me. And so that was kind of
Mm.
um, my first leap into like having a coach. And I found it was just so valuable to have somebody outside your
Wow.
business and just like, hey, I'm struggling with this. How am I supposed to think about this? Should I focus on this? All that stuff. So it was super important. And then kind of from there, at the moment right now, I don't have a coach. I have people that are colleagues that meet and I know I can trust and just say like, hey, I'm struggling here. What do you think
Mhm.
about this? So we can hop on Zoom, stuff like that. I have those folks in my life. I just finished a year of a mastermind group that's for agency owners and building an agency. So that was super helpful, but it was an expense, so
Sure.
right where I'm at now is, I'm kind of saving up for the next sort of coaching opportunity, I think, and just kind of, just looking at our margins. So right now it's not really in the cards, but I'm working towards that and definitely want to get back to that because having people that you can pull on that have either done what you've done or, they're in it right now or, they're ahead of you or behind you or in the same place, like being surrounded by those sorts of people and so, being part of a mastermind group where those people are found is amazing because you get to help people who are coming up behind you, people ahead of you. You can lean on them and their resources. So it gets you farther so much faster.
Cool. So we're coming up on, we have about 10 more minutes or so. Uh, what, how do you use your story now to help your clients scale?
That's a good question. Um, I mean, my story, I think my wife's story is really kind of intertwined with my story because of how I
Sure.
I helped her. get her private practice online. And she's like, to this day, she's like my guinea pig. So we're launching an SEO course for the second time now in the first quarter of 23 here. And through the course, I kind of take people behind the scenes on like not only like our process that we teach our process for doing SEO and creating an SEO strategy, but I also use my wife's website throughout that course to show people how to do stuff and kind of track, even like looking at the keywords that my wife's website's ranking for and how I view it and say like, hey, I really want her to be ranking higher for this specific keyword. So here are some things that I'm thinking about that we're going to apply during this course, on these live calls to, impact her business. And so I think I use like our story, like how I started and how my wife started a lot, because I think it helps not only that, people when I'm consulting with them, I want them to feel like I get it, and I hope that they do. And it's not like a marketing tactic. It really is like, hey, we've seen this in my wife's practice. She's done this, and this has happened. And yeah, this was a struggle for her, and this is how we solved it. So it's really helpful for me because of the audience I serve. That my wife is my audience, to a degree, and she's become, just a great resource because if I'm trying to figure something out or she's trying to figure something out, we kind of put our heads together and sort that out. So yeah, I think it just kind of comes out naturally as far as like our story goes. It's kind of what comes to mind with that question.
All right. Cool. So you're launching a course, SEO Basecamp Live, right? It's
Yeah.
gonna be well, you know the details better than I do. It's coming up at the end of January. So why don't you tell
Yeah.
people about it and where to find it and what your goals are for that course?
Yeah, so this kind of all goes back to processes. So, I said like last year we really focused on our services, and one of those services is a service that we have. It's called SEO Basecamp, where we create your SEO strategy from keyword to optimizing your website. And we've been seeing great results. And so I had this process, and I was like, well, what if I just started teaching this process? So last year, fall of 22, we had our first class. And basically what it is it's part course, part live training. So each week there's a topic, and it's all kind of based on like the building blocks of creating a custom strategy for your private practice. So, you're going to be understanding how all the aspects of SEO fit together, from the technical stuff to content and what pages are going to be on the website, keyword research, how do you literally optimize the website? What are some things you could do off of your website? All that sort of thing. We walk through that process together. So each week is a topic that is in an online course that you get to view. And then the following week, we meet for a live implementation class. So those are live weekly calls, and the whole class goes for about 9 weeks. So everyone's kind of working together on similar things. Depends on where your website is at, but people might get to different stages later on in the process. But it was just so much fun teaching this class, and it was kind of my first, getting back into teaching and like doing online courses. And I loved the aspect of the course and the live stuff because so many questions come out in those live calls, and so many people at the end of our last class were like, these live calls were the most important part. Like, even if I didn't have a question, just listening to people's other questions and things that they're trying to solve made me, light bulb was going off for ideas for my own website and for my own SEO. So yeah, it's called SEO Basecamp Live. It's a training group. James, you are an affiliate for it. So I set up a link. So it's privatepracticeelevation.com/CCS, and that'll take you right to the landing page to learn more about it. And we're doing, we always have a waiting list for it. And so we do sort of a little 2-day launch/discount for folks on the waiting list. So yeah.
So if you're interested and you want the discount, get on that waiting list.
Yeah, get on that waiting list. Just go to that link and you can sign up for the waiting list. And then on January 30th, you'll get the coupon code, and that'll only be good for about 2 days until the
Launch
the
to the
general public
regular
and
list,
the rest of my list gets wind of it.
Cool. Fantastic. So we always end the show with what's the one thing you want people to take away? So I will go first. The one thing I want people to take away is what Daniel is doing with his team I really think one-on-ones are important. It's like the glue that keeps people together. It's like, even if you're virtual, it's your open door policy where they can bring things to you and they don't have to like, oh, am I bothering the boss? They can just bring issues to you, and those issues don't grow. They don't grow in the dark. If they have a regular time to bring things to you and you're listening and open, you're gonna have a much better time and a much better engagement with your staff than if you just showed up when there was a problem. Oh, what's the boss want now? That's not a great way to endear yourself to your team, to only show up for problems. So, all right. So hopefully that gave you a little bit of time. Daniel, what's your one thing you want people to take away?
Yeah, I think I I'm still amazed by that lesson that I said about, building that bridge. So for, if you're
Mhm.
feeling kind of stuck with what to do next and what to focus on, think about what is your bridge? What has the most potential right now in your business to create the reality you want to see in your life, in your business, in your success, and figure out how you can focus on that and think, be future focused about that. Even like I said, I was documenting stuff before I was hiring. Like, think about those things and that you're doing now, and be okay that you're doing them now, with the thought of, can I hand this off to somebody else in the future so that I can get back and focus on what only I can focus on?
Really, really great advice, Daniel. This has been wonderful. Thanks for dropping by.
Yeah, it's great being on. Thanks for having me.
So this is James with Daniel Fava. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. That was a packed episode. There was so much good information in there. I want to remind you that I'm going to have these links in the show notes. Mike McCallowitz, Profit First; Julie Harris, Profit First for Therapists; link for ChatGPT; link for the podcast Therapy for Your Money; and then Private Practice Elevation. So Pat Flynn, Amy Porterfield. Yeah, some of the books that we mentioned are going to be in there. Story Brand, I don't think I mentioned that. I think that was going to be my tip. Story Brand's in there whenever you talk about web pages. And of course, the link to Daniel's Basecamp Live sounds like an awesome tool for therapists. One of the things I don't think he mentioned is he's going to give you the workbook to work on, that you can continually update it and use it, not just for those 8 or 9 weeks, but use it as a resource that you can keep going back to, because he's big on process and big on writing things down to come back to. So it's a real benefit of the course. Get on that wait list and check out his other resources. Thanks again for joining me and for Daniel, and I hope to see you next week. Thank you for tuning into the Scaling Therapy Practice. We hope you found the information helpful and informative. Please keep in mind that the context of this podcast is for general information purposes only. It is not intended as tax or legal advice. If you have any legal questions or concerns, we strongly encourage you to consult with a qualified professional in your area. The Scaling Therapy Practice is a proud part of the SciCraft Network. This network of podcasts provides both self-help and business-building resources to create an impact in the world and change people's lives. Check them out at SciCraftNetwork.com.